His ex-girlfriend, Emily. I've always joked that I had a special magnet that attracted weird people and situations, so here is another story. To this day, I haven't fully figured it out. My husband dated a girl named Emily in high school for a few years, and upon graduation, she decided to go to college out of state and they broke up. Nothing dramatic, just parted ways. He and I met a few years later and ended up getting married, obviously. I knew of Emily through friends, as we live in a very small town, and everyone thought she was wonderful, but I never met her face to face or anything like that. About 6 months after we were married, I got a phone call on my cell phone in the middle of the night, and when I answered it, it was a woman crying hysterically and ranting about how I ruined her future, and how she and my husband were supposed to get married in October, and he didn't love me, etc. I said, "Who is this?" And she screamed, "Emily!" Then hung up. I woke my husband up and we were completely puzzled, as he hadn't talked to her in years at this point. Over the next couple months, both of us would get random phone calls at random times of this crying woman, accusing us of ruining her life, etc. We eventually stopped answering any calls except for known numbers. Around this time, my husband ran into Emily's brother, Jason, who was married and lived fairly close to us. They struck up a friendship and would often go to BBQs, etc. We were friendly acquaintances versus close friends, so we were never brought up the calls from Emily. Jason would occasionally mention things about her graduating from college, starting a physician's assistant program, getting married, but not a lot. I think he was respecting our marriage, etc. Every time he mentioned her, my skin would crawl. Then Facebook became popular, and I started getting messages from Emily, her full maiden name, a profile picture of her grinning and squinting into the sun. The messages were basically what she was saying on the phone. My husband hated me, I ruined her life, I stole her family, etc. When I clicked on the profile, it would have no friends, no posts, just that one picture, so I blocked her. She made another one, sent messages, same pictures, same type of profile. I must have blocked about 20 of them. It was so frequent that I wouldn't even mention to my husband after a while. It was just a given. Her harassment was by no means a focal point in our life, but it was always lingering there. Fast forward a few years, the Facebook messages were becoming more infrequent. We've had a child and expecting another one, and Jason mentions, yay, Emily is moving back with her family, husband and kids, and has accepted a PA position in our town's major pediatric clinic. Our mutual friends were excited, and were going to switch to her for their healthcare, but I refused. She'd probably murder my kids. I heard she was back. Mutual friends mentioned seeing her and she's great. She's a great PA, blah blah blah. Then we were at another mutual friend's daughter's birthday party, and they casually mentioned that Emily would be coming by. Literally everyone knew that my husband and her had dated in high school, so I felt I couldn't get away from her and hearing about her, the success story from our tiny town. I was such a bundle of anxiety waiting for Emily to show up. My heart was pounding, I was shaky. I felt like I needed to vomit, and then diarrhea, it was terrible. Then, in walks this completely normal, everyday woman, with her husband who looks normal, and her daughter. She greeted my husband and I very casually, said it was nice to meet me, and continued to circulate. What the hell? This is the person who had been terrorizing us? It did not add up. The messages on Facebook continued for another 6 months or so, then stopped. To this day, I cannot match the person on the phone and Facebook and that woman at the birthday party as being the exact same person. I am completely baffled. So, Emily, or someone pretending to be you, let's not meet again. My now ex-girlfriend harassed me for 2 days. I'm a 22-year-old male, and my girlfriend is a 21-year-old female. I posted this in another subreddit earlier today, but someone redirected me here, so I figured I would share. So I matched with this girl on Tinder, Jenna. Jenna and I went on our first date on January 26th. She knew I was out of a long-term relationship and still maintain occasional contact with my ex, Mary. Jenna and I officially started calling each other boyfriend and girlfriend around mid-February. 3 days ago, while I'm in the shower, she goes through my phone and reads an old message between Mary and I, a few casual ones and a few very affectionate ones from before. It was before Jenna and I started seeing each other or even met. Jenna packs all of her things and is heading out the door when I get out of the shower with my phone. She texts a bunch of other people saying things like, "I'm an asshole," and Mary is a manipulating bitch. She hacks into my Facebook and makes a post calling Mary a whole slew of names and blocks and unfriends several of my friends. She does a similar thing on Twitter. I get a hold of a coworker's phone and use it to try and contact her and sign back into my Facebook. Once she realizes I did this, she changed my passwords and my email passwords as well. Eventually she tells me she wants to talk this out and to meet at my place. I play along so I can get my phone and passwords back. She gives me my phone and makes me call Mary and telling her I'm cutting her out of my life. I got a hold of Mary earlier and warned her something like this might happen. We both have a background in theater, so we had a very convincing argument over speakerphone so Jenna can hear. Jenna gives me my passwords and I immediately change them. I tell her she should leave, and she doesn't understand why I want her out of my life. She goes home very upset about me breaking up with her over this. Jenna starts posting and commenting on my Facebook and I block her. I blocked her on everything, and she begins calling me over and over, not saying anything. When I try to pick up the phone, I block her number. I start receiving the same calls over and over from a Colorado number. I live in Canada. Eventually I go to my phone provider and change my number as well. I also changed the locks on my door in case she took a key. Next day, she makes a Facebook page calling me a piece of shit, and Mary, a manipulating cunt, and she hacks into my alt Twitter accounts. I tell her if she calls me one more time or post one more thing about anybody I know, I'm calling the police. I get an email saying that my applications for a credit card has been approved. I call the bank and tell them what's happened, and they put a freeze on the account. Several friends have told me to call the police, and I finally realize enough is enough. The police come and tell me that she has some sort of file with them, and that her name isn't even Jenna. It's something completely different. They issue a warning of harassment, and if she tries to contact me again, I can call the police and she gets arrested. On Monday, I have to call the fraud people and get all my accounts frozen and investigated and stuff like that. I realize this is a lot, but this is actually a pretty bare-bones version of the story. Basically, the reason I'm posting this now is that the police got involved, and I had my logs changed and my number changed, and all is solved. I'm starting to feel the emotional damage of being abused and harassed by someone I was really starting to care about, to be honest, and I don't know how to deal with the whole situation. Someone on the other post called bullshit on this, so I proved them with screenshots of the Facebook page she made of me and the phone number she was calling me from that I've now blocked. I'm an aspiring comedian, and the page calls me one too. If you want some other form of proof, feel free to ask me. I know it sounds crazy, but that's because it is. Beautiful and Dangerous Angel. I just discovered this subreddit and I think I have a story ideal for here. I apologize in advance if my English isn't good enough, because I am not a native speaker. When I met her, I was in a tough spot with my girlfriend. We had a lot of fights because I was working with a female artist who was illustrating one of my stories, and she was very jealous about it. She was starting to consider the possibility of making me choose between my career and her, and this damaged my commitment to our relationship. One day after a fight, I left her place and went to the university campus because I had a seminary to attend, and I ended up talking with a very pretty girl who was waiting too. She had very white skin, big brown eyes, short hair. They barely covered her neck. She was a petite, adorable thing, cute, 155 tops. She was also smoking hot. She had big breasts, small waist, and killer legs. I'm serious, guys. I hate her now and I fear her, but even now I can totally admit she was stunningly beautiful. She was an exchange student from Spain, so her accent was interesting to me as well. Without even thinking much about it, I ended up hitting on her. Her name was beautiful too, but I'll call her Angel in this post. We talked a lot, Angel and I. She was smart, interesting, and very flirty. I like that. I was under a lot of stress because my girlfriend had no trust in me whatsoever. I just kinda ended up thinking, she thinks this poorly of me no matter how hard I try, whatever, and went all the way in with what she thought of me. We ended up skipping the seminary to make out in the parking lot until they were closing. Then I drove her home. There, she said her roommate wasn't home and invited me to come in. We shared the most amazing night I ever had, and after that, We shared many more nights and days together. She had this incredible self-made book of herbs with true samples taped over the pages. She gave them fake names and invented magical properties to each of them. She was inventing her own fictional world, plant by plant, and animal by animal, before even starting to write the very first chapter of a story. As I said before, she was really smart and never gave a step without being sure that she was ready to do it. Aside from her talents and intelligence, she was also a huge nympho. After our first night together, she started sending me nudes and dirty messages between classes. She insisted that we had sex on campus a lot of times, and we even filled some of our encounters in bathrooms and my car as well. And to be honest, I loved it. This was something that never bothered me about her. I adored it. This would end up backfiring me in the end. I broke up with my girlfriend about a week later, but I didn't tell her about Angel. That's something I would regret later as well. All I said to her is that I was done with her game of making me choose between her and one of my dreams. Up until this point, Angel seemed like the perfect girl to have a casual relationship with. She was pretty, smart, and fun, but one night at my place, she asked me something weird while we were doing it. Would you be jealous if I looked at another guy? I didn't answer, but she insisted almost immediately. I asked you something, she said, while pushing me, forcing me to stop. I asked her why she was asking something like that all of a sudden, and I explained that while we were eating before at the mall, I stared at a girl, and that is very disrespectful, because I was with her. Now, I swear to everything that is sacred in this world, I had no idea what she was talking about. I don't recall staring at someone other than her, nor did I get why she would be mad about it. She then proceeded to demand an apology, so I apologized, trying to avoid any conflict. It wasn't a huge deal after all. She then nodded, kissed me with satisfaction, and then gave me head. This was the first of many weird moments. One time I asked if she would be up for a threesome, and she said it was a very bad idea, because she had very physical feelings, and she was happy with just loving me and didn't want to love anyone else. This was incredibly sudden. We knew each other for like 3 weeks at the time. After that, she started introducing herself to my closest friends on campus as my girlfriend, even though we weren't officially dating. When I told a friend about this, he said, "You're sleeping with her, suck it up and give her the satisfaction," so I did. Even after a couple of weird things, she was still a very interesting person to spend time with, and she was still beautiful, but it was just the beginning. She started to watch my every move. She knew where I was even when I didn't tell her anything, because she followed every friend of mine in every social media. And not just that, she started asking me, "Why did you fave that slut's tweet?" And it totally freaked me out because nobody in the city knows I even have a Twitter account. I didn't use my name or any personal information, but she followed me apparently with a fake account because I set my profile private, and she still knew about everything that I tweeted and even asked, "Are you trying to hide something from me, my love?" But I still maintained my relationship with her because she was so pretty and we had a lot of sex. I feel like a total idiot while telling you guys this. I feel ashamed to be so easy. Time went on. The semester ended and I had to travel with my family to the wedding of a cousin of mine to the other side of the country. Of course she went with me. My mother loved her because she was a good listener and would make a big deal out of every single conversation. But my cousins, being of my age or closer, saw something weird in her almost immediately. She wasn't able to catch them the same way she catched my mother, so eventually she started trying to reduce the time we spent with my family at the hotel or in the city. She would often take me to her room to have sex while we were in the swimming pool or just hang out at someone else's place. Of course, I didn't notice this because sex. S-E-X. And then the wedding happened. Beautiful ceremony, amazing food, good drinks and all. But when the family photo took place, and a cousin of mine insisted that no girlfriends and no boyfriends were allowed in the pictures, she got somehow angry at me. But even then she was calm. The real tragedy happened when the happy wife threw the bouquet and the groom threw the garter. She was really close to catching the bouquet but didn't. And when it was the turn on the guys to catch the garter, we all agreed to run away from it instead of trying to get it, as a joke. Eventually we did try to catch the thing, but I didn't get it. When I came back to her table, she said to me, "I can't believe you did this to humiliate me," and left. I ran after her, but she wouldn't stop until a few blocks later. She was crying a lot and said that I did that because I didn't want to be with her because I was still in love with my ex. I never mentioned my ex to her. This was the first time she ever mentioned it, but she certainly had her present in mind constantly. She said she knew she called me, which she did a week before, but we didn't talk about getting back together or anything like that, and she said she wanted to go home. We were hours apart from home, 23 hours on road to be exact, but she insisted. She didn't want to see me or my family, so I took her to the airport and spent $400 to send her home because I cared about her and I didn't want her to travel alone on a bus. She told me to get back to the wedding, but I didn't. I stayed with her until she left at 5:40 a.m. I got back to the hotel as the sun was rising up and couldn't sleep thinking about what the hell just happened. It took me that long to realize. Something was wrong. And that she wasn't fine. She had several problems. And then I had to break up with her. We didn't talk at all until I got back from my trip. She called me as soon as I got there. She told me we needed to talk and I agreed. She insisted we met at her place. She apologized and told me I was her everything. She told me about her sick sister back in Spain and how both their parents were dead. She told me that I was her true family, and I told her we needed to break up. She then started to kiss me while touching me, and well, she broke me. We ended up having sex one last time. After we finished, I put on my clothes and told her she couldn't manipulate me like that anymore, that we were done and that I wished her well. That night I got a message from her. I wish you happiness, but you won't get it, because I will destroy you. She was supposed to stay here a whole year but left the next semester and didn't say anything about it to me. I thought she just wanted to let things go and start rebuilding her life somewhere else. 4 months passed. In that time, I started to talk things out with my ex, not Angel, the other one, and we started to slowly work our problems out. She admitted she was being unfair and promised to control her jealousy, and we started dating again stronger than ever. But as soon as we changed our relationship status on Facebook, things fell apart. Angel sent my girlfriend several screenshots of our conversations of that week before I broke up with her. She proved her I cheated on her with many texts and even sent her a video of a blowjob she gave me in my car. Those conversations were deleted a long time ago, but she had backups of everything we had said and done in the past prepared in case she had to destroy me. She also sent several videos of us having sex on campus as well to the school from an anonymous mail, so I was expelled. I received a WhatsApp message 1 week later from a Spanish number. It's sad. I told you so. So, I lost my girlfriend, and my rights to study in the best university of my city, and several more things. And I would like to say it was because of her, but ultimately, those were my own failures. Those were my own choices. Those were victories in which I let her have. Turns out, she lived her life just like she was building her own fantasy world, carefully and meticulously, making sure she had control over every little detail around her. So, Angel, you might be the smartest person I have ever met. You might be the most gorgeous girl alive, and you might have fallen from the sky, but I don't want to meet you ever again. Edit. Yes, I know cheating was wrong. Edit 2, guys, this happened years ago, so even if you try to insult me, it won't have any effect on me. I'm at peace with everything that's happened, but I also really wanted to share this on Let's Not Meet, as a Let's Not Meet story, you know? Try to keep it civil, even if you really hate cheating, even if you really hate me, like, please, trust me, I hate cheating too, now. Also, guys, I just want to make one thing perfectly clear. I am not looking for sympathy. The purpose of this whole subreddit is to share stories of people you don't want to ever see again. And that is what I did.